Presented by the South African Rally Commission and its partners, Toyota, Volkswagen, Ford, Sasol and Dunlop. Mud, dust, rocks, trees and sometimes even people are just some of the obstacles that South Africa's best gravel road racers have to face each time they climb behind the wheels of their multi-million rand rally machines. Oh yes, and there is also the stopwatch. This is the 2015 South African Rally Championship. Of July saw the rally circus travel all the way down to the Eastern Cape and to the home of Volkswagen for the annual Volkswagen Rally. They say that a sponsor usually suffers from bad luck on its home event. It's something called the sponsor's curse, and on the Volkswagen it struck yet again. The Polos all suffered in one way or another, leaving it to the Fords and the Toyotas to fight for glory. And on day 2, the heavens opened, adding another dimension to the fight. In the end, it was Janelle de Villiers who claimed the third step on the podium, while only fractions of seconds separated the battle between title hopefuls Marc Cronje and Leroy Poulter. In the end, Poulter was just a little too quick for Cronje, taking his second consecutive victory in the process. So, with 3 victories to Leroy Poulter's 2, it's still the name of Marc Cronje that tops the championship scoreboard on 72 points, but the gap has closed. This means that the title fight is now a 2-horse race, with Janelle de Villiers and Gugu Zulu a distant 3rd and 4th respectively, while Japie van Niekerk entered the top 5. The city of Tswane was to provide the backdrop for the next installment in this epic war, also known as Round 6 of the 8-round South African Rally Championship. And what a spectacular venue for the ceremonial start. The historic Fort Klapperkop, high up on the hills above Pretoria. The rally also enjoyed full support from the Tswane city fathers.
First, we need to congratulate all the sponsors who have made it possible. We have partnered with the city to ensure that this epic race is held in the city of Tswane.
But Klapperkop would not be the scene for the Tswane rally battle. From the fort, the entire event moved around 40 kilometers east of Tswane to the historic diamond mining town of Cullinan, where no less than a total of 10 stages on the dry and dusty Highveld gravel roads were waiting to test both man and machine in the battle that was officially known as the Imperial Toyota Tswane Rally, thanks to support from the Imperial Toyota Group.
As you know, the cornerstone of our efforts in marketing is motorsport, and the natural knock-on from the Dakar is to be involved in rallying. We've got both Janelle and we've got Leroy doing very well this year so far, and for us it really is just partnering with Toyota to make sure we do well in the championship this year.
And with only 3 events to go, it's pretty clear that the 2015 South African Rally champion will be either 2012 and 2013 champion Marc Cronje or defending champion Leroy Poulter. The question is, however, which of these 2 champions will it be?
Well, obviously that's a tough one. You know, we've had the last 2 races have been really good, but I mean it is tight, and you know, I think the next 3 events is going to tell what's going to happen. Look, it's absolutely exciting for the sport to go hammer and tongs. It's going to go right down to the wire, but I can tell you we're not going to give it up.
Janelle de Villiers is the best of the rest, in 3rd on the points ladder.
You know, we're hanging in there in 3rd. We're a long way off them, but we had a good race at the last event down in Port Elizabeth.
But de Villiers will have to keep an eye on Gugu Zulu, who is chasing his best ever championship result.
We're hoping to have a good result, and it's going to be a bit of a challenge considering that we're sweeping the road.
And Japie van Niekerk clearly likes this event after finishing 2nd here in 2014.
That's last year. We need to see about this year.
But back to Fort Klapperkop, where the Volkswagen of Gugu Zulu was the first to be waved off, followed by the identical car of his teammate Harken Flecken. Janelle de Villiers is the first of the Toyotas, and he was followed by the Volkswagens of Thilo Himmel and Henk Lateghan. The title fight will be between Leroy Polter and Mark Cronje from 6th and 7th on the road respectively, while Japie van Niekerk starts in 8th. After a sedate drive on the tarmac between Fort Klapperkop and Cullinan and a quick top-up of Go Fast juice, it was finally time to tackle the first of the day's stages. Stage 1 was a quick 8-kilometre blast in and around the famous Zonderwater Correctional Facility. While at 16 kilometres, Stage 2 not only had double the amount of miles, but also double the amount of obstacles that drivers had to avoid. Inside the Guguzulu Volkswagen Sasol Racing Polo, navigator Hilton Offray counts down to 0 to get the Imperial Toyota Tswane rally underway. The next car on the road, the Polo of Volkswagen teammates Herken Vecken and Pierre Aris. And this is Janelle de Villiers and Carolyn Tswane in the first Castrol Toyota Yaris. Up ahead, Zulu was nearing the end of the first stage and stops the clock on 5 minutes 31 seconds.
Conditions are very slippery, it's a bit tricky, struggle for traction in the front end, so cars understeering all over the place.
As Zulu was sweeping the road, everyone knew he'd lose time on day 1, and he did, as Vecken recorded a time of 5 minutes 29 seconds.
Right, 7.
2 seconds wasn't much, but stage 1 was a short one. On the 16 kilometres of stage 2, Zulu found the going tough, trying to set the pace from the front. This time the clock stopped on 9 minutes 42 seconds, while it took Vecken a full 9 seconds less to complete the same stage. But what about de Villiers from 3rd on the road? As expected, the Dakar legend beat Vecken's time on stage 1 by more than a second and went another 3 seconds faster on stage 2. De Villiers was followed by another 2 Volkswagens. Firstly, the Volkswagen genuine parts version of Namibian Thilo Himmel and co-driver Armand de Tooy. And then the third of the factory Sasol Racing Polos driven by Henk Lateghan and Barry White. Young Himmel successfully completed both opening stages with times that placed him right in the mix, but behind him, Henk Lateghan clearly had other ideas. His times on both the opening stages were quicker than anyone else so far, handing him the provisional rally lead. But only until this battle got underway, and as expected, the championship battle between the Castrol Toyota Yaris of Leroy Polter and Alvin Coetzee and the number 24 Ford Performance Fiesta of Mark Cronje and Robin Houghton immediately also turned into a fight for rally glory. From 6th on the road, Polter went quickest of all on both stages 1 and 2 to move past Lateghan and into the lead. But Cronje came out with all guns blazing to beat Polter's time on stage 1 with a narrow 1.9 seconds. He managed the same feat on stage 2, but this time with a slightly bigger margin of 2.1 seconds to take a 4-second lead after 25 kilometres of flat-out gravel racing.
It's a 3 there, it's a max right 1 and then 300. The max right 1 is a 3 and then 300 is the turn right side cut over bumpy.
And with all eyes on the Polter and Cronje fight, it was almost easy not to notice the excellent pace by Japie van Niekerk and Gerard Snyman in the new Africa Developments Ford Fiesta. Van Niekerk ended the opening loop in 4th place overall, less than a second behind Lateghan.
I had one mistake, unfortunately, otherwise I think it would have been close to perfect. That's just as fast as car can go.
Behind the first 8, Namibian Wilro Dippenaar was best of the rest in his PZN panel beaters Auris, and also leading the NRC 4 class for older specification cars, ahead of the S2000 Vecto Petroleum Toyota Yaris of Bernie van der Walt and the NRC 4 Salem Group Auris of Tian Subak. It's not by much, but 4 seconds means a 4-second lead for Mark Cronje over Leroy Polter. Henk Lateghan is just 7 seconds back, with Japie van Niekerk a further second behind in 4th. Janelle de Villiers rounded out the top 5 after the opening loop of stages. No need to spend too much time explaining the details of stages 3 and 4, as they were exactly the same 2 stages used as 1 and 2. So no more sweeping and no more guessing as to where the obstacles were. At the privateer end of the field, Tian Hubert returned for yet another outing in this Salem Group Toyota Auris. And ahead of Hubert was the Vector Petroleum Toyota Yaris of Ernie van der Walt and Greg Godridge. Van der Walt made the jump to the Premier S2000 class this year, and the youngster is improving with every outing. And the man setting the pace for all the NRC4 cars was again Wilro Dippenaar and co-driver Kes Naidu. The PZN and North City panel beaters Auris moved up to a very credible 7th overall at the end of day one. Just a few seconds ahead of Dippenaar was the Volkswagen Sasol Racing Polo of Gugu Zulu and Hilton Ofray. Zulu was the first car to tackle each of the day's 4 stages, so the popular driver wasn't going to risk anything as he brought the car safely home after day 1 in 6th position overall. In fact, the battle for a spot on the leaderboard, which only shows the top 5, was a fierce one. Dippenaar was trailing Zulu by only 5 seconds, while only a further 3 seconds separated Zulu from the position ahead of him. The men in that position were Thilo Himmel and Armand de Toy in the Volkswagen Genuine Parts Polo. The sun was setting over a dry and dusty Gauteng as we were nearing both the end of day 1 as well as the business end of the leaderboard. Question was, who will top the standings? Harken Fecken and Pierre Arrie certainly had aspirations to do so, and although the flying Fecken was as spectacular as ever, the former double champion didn't quite have the pace to fight for victory yet. He ended the day in 4th position overall.
Turn right 8 before.
This meant that Japie van Niekerk was doing some serious low flying from behind the wheel of his new Africa Developments Ford Fiesta. Van Niekerk already said that he liked this rally, but his luck was about to change. He lost nearly 2 minutes on the final stage of the day and dropped out of contention.
I just went a little bit too wide, and on the turn-in there was a rock that I didn't see, and it clipped the right rear.
Meanwhile, Henk Lateghan had every aspiration to join the battle for the lead, and a blistering time on stage 3 saw him move even closer to the leading duo. But the Volkswagen Sasol Racing Polo made contact with Mother Earth, which left a hole in the sump and would soon force him to retire from day 1.
And yeah, unfortunately, braking into one of the tighter corners, the nose dipped and we hit a big concrete block in the middle of the road, and that pushed the sump guard up and punched a hole in the sump, and we lost a lot of engine oil.
With Lateghan removed from the action, the name of Janelle de Villiers happily moved into 3rd position, previously occupied by the Volkswagen driver. Yes, with a bit of luck, but the Castrol Toyota driver still had to drive fast and safely in order to reach the end of day 1. But who will top the standings after day 1? It was clearly going to be either Marc Cronier in his Ford Performance Fiesta or Leroy Poulter in the Castrol Toyota Yaris. Following 2 successive victories before this rally, the momentum has swung in Poulter's favour. But Cronier is a fighter and a double champion for a reason. Poulter was as fast as ever, but Cronier had to dig deep to edge out another 3 seconds on stage 3. The gap between the two had grown to 7 seconds, and the Cronier steamroller continued on stage 4 when he managed to beat Poulter by a margin of 5 seconds. The pace was hot and the race for Imperial Toyota Tswane Rally Honours was on. Marc Cronier ends the day with a 12-second advantage over his arch-rival Leroy Poulter, while the demise of both Henk Lateghan and Japie van Niekerk elevates the name of Janelle de Villiers into 3rd. Harken Fecken was breathing down his neck with a good showing by Thilo Himmel in 5th. And a chance for battered machinery to receive some attention in the Dunlop Service Park at the end of a tough day 1. And after a full day and 60 kilometres of racing, only 12 seconds separated the 2 at the top in Marc Cronier's favour.
We've done a lot of homework in the background, so I'm hoping that we've done enough. But tomorrow's the rally, so I think it's important tomorrow to get through the first 3 stages relatively clean.
I think tomorrow's a long day, and we'll do the best.
This is the last day of the Imperial Toyota Tswane Rally. On this day, a rally victor will be crowned, while at the same time, we will move one step closer to crowning an overall champion. But first, the small matter of 6 stages planned for the day, covering a total of 120 kilometres. Stages 5 and 6 take place on the Potgieter and Van Rensburg farms near Bronkhorstspruit, while Stage 7, or Madlokola Enterprises, is located closer to Cullinan. What makes it worse is that Stages 5, 6 and 7 will be run in quick succession, so no room for error. Jaapie van Niekerk was a huge threat early on in the event, but impact with the rock late on day 1 dropped the New Africa Development's Ford Fiesta way down the leaderboard. Van Niekerk was planning a comeback on day 2, but more problems finally forced him to the sidelines.
We gave it all, and I think I just went into a rut, and the tyre got off the rim. You know, just there's no puncture or anything. It just physically bumped off the rim.
With Van Niekerk gone, Ernie van der Walt could concentrate on his duel with Wilro Dippenaar. The Vector Petroleum Yaris and the older PZN panel beaters Aurus were matching each other's times until a broken damper inside the Yaris on stage 6 cost them a bit of time, allowing Dippenaar some breathing space. Dippenaar would have had ideas to try and close the gap to the next man, but the next man was none other than Gugu Zulu, whose factory Volkswagen Sasol Racing Polo proved to be too quick. In fact, it was a different Zulu on day 2 than the one that had to sweep the roads the day before. Zulu now also had the similar Polo of Tilo Himmel in his sights. The young Namibian is also driving with new vigour as of late and was trying his best to cling to his current 5th position overall. But he had no answer to Zulu's burst of speed. The gap between the two shrunk to just 1 second after stage 6, and on stage 7, Zulu overtook him and moved up into 5th. Spectators, and there were many that came out to witness the action, were treated to a number of tough battles throughout the field. And few battles can be tougher than the current one for 3rd position between former champion Hargen Vekken and Dakar legend Janelle de Villiers. The Castrol Toyota Yaris of de Villiers started day 2 with a slender advantage of 5 seconds over the Volkswagen Sasol Racing Polo of Vekken. De Villiers stretched it to 8 after the morning's opening stage, only for Vekken to reduce it again by 2 on stage 6. The pair set virtually identical times on stage 7 to reach the service park just 8 seconds apart. And that was just the fight for 3rd position. The battle for the overall victory was even more intense. Mark Cronje dug deep on day 1 to edge out a 12-second advantage over Leroy Poulter for day 2. But the majority of those 12 seconds all but evaporated when the Castrol Toyota beat the Ford Performance Fiesta by a full 9 seconds on the day's opening stage. So off they went to stage 6, and this time it's Cronje who returned the favour by taking back the same 9 seconds. A puncture near the end of the stage didn't help Poulter's cause either. The gap was back up to 12 seconds. And off to stage 7 they went, in what can only be described as a blow-by-blow confrontation. It was Cronje's turn to suffer from a puncture, handing a full 10 seconds back to Poulter. The new gap, just 2.3 seconds. Confirmation then of the ding-dong battle that was raging between Mark Cronje and Leroy Poulter, with just 2 seconds separating them at the top of the leaderboard. Janelle de Villiers was having his own battle with Hargen Vekken for 3rd, while Gugu Zulu's name appeared in 5th. Finally, time to take a quick break in the Dunlop Service Park after the mad rush that was the morning's first loop of stages. Vekken was in a tough fight with de Villiers for 3rd.
Janelle is going very well today. We 8 seconds behind him, 3 stages to go, so there's only one way we need to push.
It's a very exciting fight and a big fight, so let's see how it goes on the 2nd lap.
But the toughest fight was the one at the top between Cronje and Poulter.
Yeah, look, we knew it was going to be a fight. The next 3 stages are going to be a challenge. Well, it's going to be tough. I mean, we all know where we're going now, so it's going to be probably a really hard race.
This was the final battlefield and the final chance to influence the outcome. Stages 8, 9 and 10, the exact same 3 stages as 5, 6 and 7. Will Dippenaar was well on his way to an overall top 7 finish and a Class NRC 4 victory. but his PZN panel beat his Aurus ground to a halt due to a host of problems with the finish line literally in sight. In the end, Piet Bacchus and Sean Visser crossed the finish line for a second place finish in the NRC 4 class in the BDH Motorsport prepared Accident Guru Toyota Aurus. But the NRC 4 class victory went to a delighted Theuns Hubbard, with young scholar Marie van der Walt reading the pace notes inside the Salem Group Toyota Aurus. Ahead of Hubbard, Ernie van der Walt and Greg Godrich in the Vecto Petroleum Toyota Yaris managed to cross the finish line for a fine 6th position overall in what was the youngsters' best overall result since making the move to the Premier S2000 class. And speaking of results, 5th at the finish was an excellent showing by Thilo Himmel and Armand du Toit in their Volkswagen Genuine Parts Polo. The Namibian is getting closer and closer to the top with every event and would have been pleased with his race here in Cullinan. And speaking of pace, the man who undoubtedly had the most of it on day 2 was Henk Lateghan, who used the day as a real-life test session under the so-called Super Rally rules after falling out on day 1. Lateghan said the fastest times are no less than 3 stages. In fact, had the rally only consisted of Saturday stages, he would have won the whole thing. But would have and could have are no more than swear words in the world of rallying. Lateghan's display of speed would have been very encouraging for the Volkswagen Sassel Racing squad, who enjoyed a good end with Guru Zulu living up to his reputation as being both fast and consistent. The fastest brother in Africa also upped his pace on day 2 and reached the end in a fine 4th overall. This left us with just 2 more unanswered questions. Who would come out on top between Hargen Fecken and Janelle de Villiers? And the one on everyone's lips, who will spray the champagne from the top spot, Marc Cronier or Leroy Poulter? The gap between Hargen Fecken and Janelle de Villiers was just 8 seconds with 3 stages to go, but Fecken gave it his all to half it after stage 8. It was a battle of epic proportions, with de Villiers in turn responding to Fecken's challenge by going a mere 3 seconds quicker on the penultimate stage. So, with just 1 stage remaining, de Villiers had a slender advantage of just 6 seconds, so they both had everything to gain on the final stage. De Villiers crossed the flying finish in a time of 8 minutes and 56 seconds. What could Fecken do? 8 minutes and 56 seconds! De Villiers emerged as the winner of this particular battle. But that was not the battle for overall victory, as with just 3 stages remaining, Marc Cronier held a slender advantage of just 2.3 seconds over Leroy Poulter. On stage 8, however, Poulter went faster than Cronier to reduce the gap, but only by 4/10 of a second. The difference between them with only 2 stages to go, 1.9 seconds. It couldn't be any closer. This was double champion Marc Cronier in full flight on the penultimate stage 9, but he slowed down. In fact, him and Robin Houghton came to a grinding halt and opened their doors to attend to the stricken Fiesta.
Yeah, unfortunately it did. Yeah, we had a problem in the second last stage, and we're quite not sure what actually happened. But the bottom line is we were pushing hard. We have to regroup and let's go to Cape Town.
In a battle as close and as epic as this one, split seconds could mean the difference between winning and losing, let alone full seconds or even minutes, and it was all over. Leroy Poulter and Elvin Coetzee crossed the finish line of the final stage to claim Imperial Toyota Tswane Rally honours. With Marc Cronier falling by the wayside, Leroy Poulter's winning margin turned out to be a comfortable 29 seconds. The fight between Janelle de Villiers and Hargen Fecken turned out to be for second position, while the Volkswagens of Gugu Zulu and Thilo Himmel completed the standings. It was a close affair, and although he lost out by a few seconds, Hargen Fecken was glad to be back on the podium.
But in the end, it was a good day. Good to be back on the podium.
And another chance to spray champagne for Janelle de Villiers, this time from the second step.
It worked out well for us, but it was a great fight and a great rally for us. And yeah, nice to have Toyota 1 and 2.
And a third victory in succession for Leroy Poulter, who knew very well what a tough fight it was with Marc Cronier.
But today really went our way, and you know, unfortunate for Mark, he got a puncture or broke something on the left front, and we managed to win.
Just 2 rounds remain. From a dry and dusty Gauteng, we head down to the Ferris Cape for the annual Toyota Cape Dealer Rally. As always, the Toyota Cape Dealer Rally will cater for spectators in and around the Killarney racetrack, but the real battle will be fought on the fast gravel roads of the Swartland near Malmesbury. See you there on the 18th and 19th of September. And don't forget to tune in next week to witness the action and drama from the Super 1600 class at the Imperial Toyota Tswane Rally. Highlights of Round 6 of the South African Rally Championship was proudly presented by the South African Rally Commission and its partners, Toyota, Volkswagen, Ford, Sasol and Dunlop.